I just ate some. On your favorite kids preschool. And my nephew suggested that we try these things. And we're working with Baltimore Alumni. You? Oh, you work for Empower?
Like your 2 weeks. So I'm still trying to think. Yeah, we've just been planning this event for the last 2 weeks. Very much kind of but I like it a lot.
I just said it. Everybody's so pleasant and so inspiring just to be in the soul.
It's very true. Like everybody here is so dedicated and excited. The resources
And I live in Baltimore, and every new business.
the location's great.
It's right in a central area. It's easy to find and get to.
Exactly. Yeah. That's our life.
I'm like, hey, yeah, get in here.
Sorry. Realized it.
Hi. Thank you all for coming. We're going to get started in a moment here.
Good morning, everybody. We like popping up just for being here. I'm Michelle Grace. I'll introduce the team in a minute. I'm executive director and co-founder here at Empower Baltimore. Is the sound okay? Is it carrying right? Cool. Just like really excited to have you all here. It's been a while since we've had this many folks in this space, and this is really what this space is built for, is to host community and have good conversations and open up dialogue around how to keep making a stronger city. And all of you are part of that, and I really appreciate you being here today. I would say, looking around, these are like some of the really hardest working people that we know in Baltimore, and like the most really committed to bringing your ideas to life and supporting communities and supporting neighborhoods and making good things happen. And just like so much gratitude for everything that you all put into your work every single day and into the city. And it's just beautiful to be here with you. I'm going to invite the team. This is Eric and Q. They'll introduce themselves, but wanted to invite the team to just also talk a little bit about what it means to be here with you all.
Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. So my name is Eric Lynn. I'm the managing director. It's just great to be here with everybody because small businesses are really the lifeblood of a city. That's what gives everything character, feeling, and the small business owners and the identities and characteristics and personality that, and the blood, sweat, and tears, of course, that everyone puts into your businesses are really what makes that happen. So thank you all for being here with us.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Q Ragsdale. I'm the director of Acceleration here, which is the director of business programs. By show of hands, where my small businesses at, or my entrepreneurs. Let me see where. Yeah. Well, in here, I feel so. Your mom was one, so you want too. So it's just, as a small business owner myself, I know the challenges. I know what we sacrifice. I know the late nights. I know the time away from doing other things. The sacrifices that our friends and family have to make to support us. And then there's also just like the joy that all that brings. And what I love about being in this space is just being able to be with a group of people who understand that and know that there are also organizations and resources out here to support us. So where are my entrepreneurial support organizations? Here, yes, there we go. And be here with you all who offer that support, who understand how important small businesses are to Baltimore City. Because when you drive around this city, you don't see a ton of big box, chains and stuff, because we want to support local. And so it's really great to be able to be here with all of you, and really excited for the day we're gonna have. Who's excited? Who's happy just to be here with people in real life and 3D? Right? Awesome. So I'm going to pass it back over to Michelle, and I look forward to a fun day with you.
So just to give you a quick overview of what all is happening, it is an action-packed day. A lot of different partners have contributed to make this all go. Right now we are enjoying some coffee and from Southeastern Roasters, juice with Treehouse Juicery, and pastries and snacks from Doopies. We're about to get started with our panel from the FACE Network, which is Business Assistance and Support for Equity, and you'll hear everything about it, so I won't give away all the secrets of that panel. But just, wanted to share a moment of things that have been accomplished, and also let you know kind of what's coming and where everything came from with that panel. And we'll take a little bit of a break. We've got someone that's offering free headshots. Tatiana is doing headshots throughout the day, and you'll see QR codes that are around the space. If you want to sign up to get a headshot, that'll make sure that you get your picture taken and go back to her. It's a whole system. So that'll be happening in Open Space North, and at the break you can sign up. And it's especially for small business owners, although partners are welcome also. And then we're going to be splitting into two sides, and so that's where follow there's schedules that are posted all around the space here. That sort of the green ones are everything happening on this side. We call it Space West. It's oriented on the west side of our space. Everything in the blue is on the other side, and essentially we've got skill shares that are going to be happening on this side that are hosted by our partners. One around the ARPA grants and getting really kind of granular around that process, and you'll hear more about that with Eric and Ben. We're going to get into also a skill share with Jay Wachu from Innovation Works, who will talk about accessing capital. We'll have Nicholas Mitchell and Chris Lander from the Raising Tenants, who are going to be talking about telling your business stories. That's all on this side all day. If you stay long enough and you hit the Made of Baltimore happy hour, or Made of Baltimore Town Hall, we're also going to have a happy hour with Parker Brothers that's starting at 4, free ice cream, just saying. And then on the other side, the Empower team, which is hosted and led by Q, is going to be running that stage all day. So you'll hear, there's going to be a panel starting right at 11 with alumni that have gone through that program, and you'll hear more about the Empower Baltimore program over there. Some of the guest speakers that have been part of that program are also going to be offering skill shares following that panel. One that's around branding and marketing, one that's around sort of video content. I think that's the whole, and then the Made of Baltimore Town Hall will be happening there too if you're a maker. Just reading about Empower Baltimore. Just to say what it is.
Who here has heard about the Empower Baltimore program? Y'all know I'm a facilitator, like interactive, this is how I do. Okay, great. So Empower Baltimore is a program that is hosted here at Impact Hub Baltimore and sponsored by GoDaddy. And our goal is to help small businesses, actually micro businesses. Who here knows what a micro business is? All right, it's a business that has 10 or less employees. So if you didn't know, and you're a micro business, you didn't know it, let me see, raise your hand. All right, you're a micro business. That's a special, because small businesses are 0 to 500 employees, and that's just how you quantify that and all the statistics. So we're micro businesses, and we're unique. And so our program is geared towards micro businesses, helping them to enhance their online presence, not just through building a website, but understanding what needs to go on that website. What is the strategy that you need to have? How does that strategy enhance your business and help you move towards your business goals? And so it's a 6-week program with cohorts. We actually have 3 learning tracks. You can do the in-person learning cohort at 6 weeks. We also have self-guided, and then we have these mini summits. And so I think that's it.
Yeah,
cool.
You can hear everything about it all day.
All day over there.
So stick around for that. And our next application deadline for that program is July 1, so this is a good time to be learning about it if it's for you. quick orientation around the space. Just so you know, we're in Open West now. Open Space East is there. Open Space North is there. There's signs and schedules all over the space if you get lost. Importantly, the bathrooms are a little bit of a journey. If you've never been here, you can ask a friend. But you go out and to the left. I've had a colleague who said it mirrors the entrepreneurial journey. We know that you all to find your way there and back again. So the codes are both up here, 1961 and 2261. They're also on the signs as you leave the space. So you'll need a code to get in. Don't panic. They're up on the wall. And the other piece I wanted to just point out are if you're looking for Wi-Fi, Impact Hub guests, welcome back, is all lowercase because the password. Anything about the space. We are asking folks to mask when they're not eating, just because there's a lot of different health circumstances going on. So try to be masking. And I won't read through all of these, but there are community agreements up around the space. It's just sort of like ways of engaging and being with one another when we're in dialogue, taking turns speaking, letting one person speak at a time. If you're someone that's sometimes quiet, speak up. If you talk a lot, step back, give people space to share. Be patient with one another. We do our best to be articulate. Watch the time, make your point, keep it moving. And any conversations that are happening here, like just take the knowledge. Don't share anyone else's story. Learn some of the really key ones. And if you want to check them out, they're also around the space. And then finally, kind of telling you about, I just wanted to say thank you. But we had a lot of people that made this happen and brought us here today. I want to especially acknowledge our team that has been organizing this mini summit, as well as our core team. So Myasia, Janae, Jane, Curtis, Naja, Bakari, Eric, and Hugh. Could you all wave your hands so that everybody can applaud all of our truly like a team effort. Likewise, a lot of partners have pulled together to make this happen and have put in their own resources and time and organizing efforts to get us here today. So that includes BDC, which hosts the BASE network, Mayor's Office of Recovery, which has funded a lot of the work that's going on right now, Made in Baltimore, Innovation Works, Ignite Capital, and GoDaddy Empower, who have all put a lot into the body of work you're going to hear about today. We love our vendors. This is about small businesses and for small businesses. So we have a lot of local businesses making this day delicious and fun. Southeastern, Treehouse, Doopies, Sporty Dog is going to be here at lunch doing some mini hot dogs. Target Brothers truck. We got Kyle on the photos somewhere. And we've got Tatiana and Holland, as seen by two, that's going to be doing headshots. So I think that's everybody. If I forgot anyone, I'm sorry. And then with that, I'm going to invite our first panel to come up. And as they do, just wanted to sort of like quickly say, so this is going to be Erica Seth Davies, and Ben Siegel is going to be there. And then Andy Cook, Jay Nwachu, Sydney Stewart, and Javier Rivas. And I could probably take like the rest of the day just like singing the praises of this group. I'll be there. But just to say, like we've been working with a lot of these organizations and colleagues, as well as many that just there aren't enough stools to put everybody up here. But Erica in particular, I think, has been a member at Impact Hub since like our first month, has been on our board for now many years, has been championing this work in a lot of ways, has sat on panels, has moderated all of these things, but runs Racial Equity Asset Lab, among many other things. I might have Erica round out her bio but just has a background in like all the sectors and especially in small business and capital access and making sure that those resources and patterns of resource flow are equitable and is a real wealth of knowledge around that work. And Ben Siegel, who you'll also hear from at the top here, who has also been stewarding in this network-based, partnership-based effort to really get resources out to small businesses throughout the country. Among many other things, Ben has also been upfront on these yellow suits with us and working on capital access and small business support. And then I'll have them introduce Jay, who's from Innovation Works and Ignite Capital, and who's from Made in Baltimore. Javier is from Latino Economic Development Center, and Sydney, who's from Black Arts District. And with that, I will just give them a round of applause, and I'll pass it on.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for inviting me to be a part of this. As Michelle mentioned, my name is Erica Seth Davies, I use she, her pronouns. I'm the founder of the Racial Equity Asset Lab. I'm also the CEO of Rea Ventures, and I sit on the advisory board for Impact Hub. And so it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here in any one of those capacities this morning. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in and wanted to give a little context for the base network before doing so. So recognizing that ecosystems, entrepreneurial ecosystems are hugely important for moving resources, capital, ideas, talent, et cetera, quickly to be able to support the growth and scale of small businesses in a region. It's incredibly important that those ecosystems are intentional about who's part of them. And so any citywide economic development strategy should absolutely include an entrepreneurial ecosystem, a building strategy, but I would even suggest an intentional one that is inclusive and addresses the community of color ecosystems that tend to be in operation as well. And so anyway, in developing a strategy that has eventually become the base network, that was the intention about 5 years ago. And so I'll just offer a little bit of background to the Baltimore Small Business Support Network, and then turn it over to Ben to talk about the base network and how one catalyzed the other. And then we will jump into a panel discussion with some of these amazing partners who've been part of this work. So by way of background, the Baltimore Small Business Support Fund was established really in 2017, and it was a collaborative that was launched by the Annie Casey Foundation. And so the intention of that collaborative was to actually strengthen the ecosystem at the level of funding and technical assistance support to small businesses, so that they were doing a much better job of serving Black and Latino and Indigenous entrepreneurs and small businesses in Baltimore City. There was, as we all know, a capital access gap, but there was also at the time an understanding that for every dollar of investment, there needed to be at least 25 cents of support, technical assistance that was provided to businesses as well. And so the collaborative, which included the Casey Foundation, Certain Foundation, JP Morgan, ABLE, oh gosh, what else was it? Whole bunch of funders, both local and national, actually pooled resources towards a $1.3 million fund to do just that. And so with those resources, we created actually a cohort model. So understanding that there were 3 things that we were really trying to make sure were covered in the cohort. One was that the range of capital that would be available from microloans all the way to growth stage loans was going to be represented. Making sure that support for businesses was also representative of the full range of opportunity or size of business or stage of businesses that existed. So from ideation all the way to growth and scale. And also that there was either an intention, an existing framework, or a curiosity and openness to ensuring that racial equity was moved to the center of that work as well. And so in designing that cohort experience, there were initially 6 members of the cohort that included MECU, LEDC, Morgan State University, Impact Hub, Baltimore Core, Innovation Works. I think that's everybody. And we were set to start the work with the collaborative. So each grantee or each organization would receive funding from the collaborative. They would receive capacity building support in the form of consultants for what project or what they chose to build capacity. And they also would have been participating in community conversations and also getting a racial equity assessment so that they understood where capacity could be strengthened for that work. And so we were set to meet at the end of March 2020, and I think everybody knows what happened at the end of March 2020, and that required a very rapid pivot. And in convening not only the cohort members, but also participating in some of the conversations and the information that's being shared by BDC at that time, which was launching a survey of small business needs in Baltimore. We came to realize that there was a gap and an opportunity for collaboration. So I will never forget one of those first meetings, and I think that was the one that reported the data point that as BDC was collecting information, not necessarily using demographic data on businesses, but zip codes, that there were entire blocks in Baltimore where businesses existed but were not responding to the survey. And so that was a pretty big signal that there was a need to be more intentional about who was even doing the outreach, who was asking the questions, how could we establish a more centralized space for what businesses needed, and how do we reach them? How do you start to reestablish trust when, but frankly, that was one of the issues that was being addressed with the cohort itself. And so we partnered with BBC, invited them into the cohort, funded them to support some of this work, which they were already doing. And then we actually launched a second round of funding to engage what we call community partners, some of the organizations that actually were like on the ground, boots on the ground, and have the trust of businesses, business owners in those places where people weren't responding to the BBC survey. And so that included an additional 10 organizations. And with that funding, we were able to bring in organizations like the Made Baltimore and the Black Arts District, amongst some others that were, again, much closer to and had the trust of entrepreneurs on the ground, because we know in a moment like that, there's also an opportunity for a lot of predatory practices to emerge. And so our goal was not only to make sure that we were creating pathways and opportunities for Black, Latino, Indigenous businesses and entrepreneurs in Baltimore to be able to access the support and the funding that was moving very quickly at that time, but also that we were building the relationships as well. And so that was actually the genesis of the TA network that was then supported by BDC. So I think I covered the capital access emergency response aspects of it. And then the focus was obviously on recovery and growth. I think everyone at that time was really just trying to figure out how do we triage the situation? How do we stop the bleeding for some of our businesses in Baltimore? And BDC became an instrumental partner, as well as the TA network in doing that work. So with that, I will turn it over to Ben to talk about how that shift was supported and eventually became the base network.
Great, thanks so much, Erica. Good morning, everyone. As Erica mentioned, I'm Ben Siegel, and I'm with BDC Baltimore Development Corporation, and I've been leading our efforts around the BASE network. So I want to kind of pick up the story from where Erica left off and just kind of share a little bit more about what this network has been doing and kind of where we're heading. Before I launch into that, I want to pick up on something Michelle said about events here at Impact Hub. They're pretty magical. So I, as an example, I think the last event I did here was back in 2018 on another project I worked on at BDC called Opportunity Zones. And at that event, I met a bunch of developers and happened to meet a developer who I then developed a relationship with. And one thing led to another, and that developer, whose company is called Schreiber Brothers, ended up working with us, connected to several equity investors, one of whom came in on a major investment on their project just a little bit west of here. It's the 1600 block of West North Avenue, where they're redeveloping 7 vacant row homes into 20 units of affordable housing and 4 ground floor commercial spaces. And the entire project is net zero. So it is the state of Maryland's first multifamily affordable housing net zero project. So that all kind of came together for an event in that. Which is just to say, do your networking here and connect with folks, because it really, things really happen here. So to pick up on where Erica left off with this network, which we originally were calling the TA or Technical Assistance Network, and now is the BASE network, I just wanted to share a couple of data points from what Erica had been discussing. So, we pulled this network together under a recognition that when the pandemic hit, we obviously knew that, businesses that were kind of disconnected from financial markets, from resources, from networks, were going to struggle to access PPP loans, EIDL loans, grants, the other various resources that were out there. And obviously, as we all know, this is primarily going to be, Black-owned, Latino-owned, businesses owned by people of color, women-owned businesses, those that, are often left behind in these types of, situations. And so the network was crucial in enabling us as a group to reach small businesses across the city and to help them access services. And just a couple quick data points. And over kind of the first year and a half, really since the onset of the pandemic in March, April 2020, when we launched the network, into last summer, so summer of 2021, fall of 2021, we were able through this network to reach about 3,000 small businesses across the city and help them access an estimated $40 million in financial assistance through PPP loans, through state grants, through city grants, through private sector programs and the like. And one of the data points that I think is most critical for our work through this effort is that we did a survey with a sample of the businesses we had been working with, and it was all Black-owned businesses who we did a survey with. And of those, 80% of them who applied for PPP loans through our network were successful in getting those loans, which is much greater, as I'm sure you guys are aware, than some of the national data that are out there. And those loans came from all sorts of lenders, from banks, from POS systems, from CDFIs and the like. So that's just kind of a sense of the power of this network. So why don't we go to the next slide? I just wanted to walk through a couple of slides about the network and how we're running it, and we really want to have a conversation with the partners. Erica really talked about the purpose and the goals of this network. We are now in the stage of this network where we have 15 partners. And we're very focused on kind of the next phase of recovery and growth. So we launched this thing in March, April 2020. We were very focused on how can we reach businesses across the city to help them keep the doors open, help them access, those resources that would help kind of, weather the storm, if you will. And what we learned through this process is that by working together as a partnership, as a network, we can really achieve much greater outcomes and impact than all of us individually. So kind of the sum of the whole is really greater than the individual parts. And so we're now in kind of a phase where we're working with businesses to help them pivot, to help them recover, stabilize, and really kind of go into this next stage of their business and of the economy that we're in. And we've set some pretty kind of ambitious targets for ourselves as a network over the next couple of years, where we want to be able to reach 7,000 businesses across Baltimore City overall, at least 5,000 of which will be BIPOC owned. And we want to be able to, help these businesses access capital. That's really the key of what this network is about. All of the partners in the network have different offerings. Impact Hub is going to be talking a lot today about the Empower program. Morgan State and their Baltimore Means Business program provides a cohort training program for small businesses with revenues under $100,000, and the list goes on. But kind of across the board, we all have kind of a common thread of wanting to make sure businesses have access to resources and especially capital. And you'll hear some from our CDFI partners who are very focused on that. But ultimately, we also want to be able to work with banks, other financial institutions to help businesses access that capital that can help them stabilize and grow. And so we've got some targets for that over the next couple of years. And then, we really want to see businesses who can grow revenue and ultimately who can grow and create jobs. So I'll kind of zoom through some of these. So this is kind of it's a little small to see, but these are the logos of all the partners in the network. I do just want to list them all out. Erica mentioned some of them, but just so you guys know who they are, and maybe if any of the partners who we mentioned are in the room, just kind of stand up and wave. Obviously, these guys are here. So just in alphabetical order, we have Baltimore Community Lending, Baltimore Core, BCAN, which is Baltimore Creatives Acceleration Network, the Baltimore Means Business program at Morgan State, BREAD, which is Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy, Collectively, the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce, Impact Hub, here we are, Innovation Works, LEDC, Made in Baltimore, the Pennsylvania Avenue Black Arts District, and the Highland Town Main Street District. So if any of you guys are in the room from those organizations, maybe just wave your hand, maybe we can all around one time. So those are some of the people to make sure if you're not already connected, find those people throughout the day and connect. And so I just want to now kind of transition to where we are with this network and what we want to talk about some today. You can jump back one more. So we are currently, as a network, operating an ARPA grant through the city. So this is part of Baltimore City's receipt of ARPA funds from the federal government. A small portion of that over the whole has been peeled off for BDC, working in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women-Owned Business Development to run a large technical assistance and small business grant program. We just completed our first round of grants, which I want to talk about today, and I think we've got some of our grantees in the room here. And over the next 2 years, we'll be doing more grants and technical assistance. And I just want to kind of, my final point about the network, and you'll hear more about it, is, we have a lot of small business owners in the room. As you guys know, as a small business owner, your day is focused on running your business, right? And so, if you need access to resources, information, assistance, that there's a lot out there, right? And in Baltimore City, there are a lot of great resources where you can find all of that information. But what we have less of is kind of a coordinated activity or partnership among all of the organizations who are providing these services. So for any of you small business owners, maybe you've gone to one organization to find out information about one thing, and then you go to another organization to learn about something else, and those two organizations don't really talk to each other, so you kind of have to start from scratch. So part of what we're attempting to do with this network is taking 15 of these organizations working with small businesses and kind of doing it as a team, right? So, if any small business comes through any of the doors, virtual or physical, of any of our organizations, we're all connected and we all know each other. And just to give you an example, we've got Candy in the back here who's providing great coffee. So Candy was part of the Empower program. And then through Empower, she got some good information on creating an updated website. She's got some resources through GoDaddy. And as part of that, she was connected into this network. And then she ended up getting a grant through our program, through ARPA, and has now been able to hire a web firm and a marketing firm to kind of execute what she developed and learned through a technical assistance standpoint to the Empower program. So that's the kind of synergy we're creating with the network. So I'll quickly run through just some stats on the grants that we just did. So we, as I mentioned, we just completed our first grant round, and I just want to give you a couple of the stats. So we awarded 221 grants to small businesses across Baltimore City, totaled about $4.8 million, about $21,000 average grant per business. These are some of the things that we've been very intentional about and trying to achieve, and we hit some of our targets, and that is that 88% of the businesses receiving grants are BIPOC-owned. And 58% Black-owned, 78% women-owned, and we're talking about small businesses. Average number of employees per our grantee is 4. And as Q was just mentioning, lots of solo entrepreneurs. So 76 or about 34% are solo entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, micro businesses. And those are the businesses that we know have been kind of left out and least likely to access resources. And then, we really did try to focus on businesses that had not previously received any prior COVID funding. So 52%, 115 of the grantees had received 10,000 or less in prior COVID funds. This is just a quick map of the distribution. Eric had talked about this back in March 2020 when BDC did the survey on small businesses and what they were expecting to experience with the pandemic. We got responses from over 750 businesses, which was great. But if you look at the distribution of where our responses came from, kind of right down center, right? And so through the network, we're able to really expand our reach. And this is just a kind of dot map of all of the 221 grants. Every city council district has at least 5. Obviously, the areas that have kind of more concentration of businesses are going to have more grants, but this is really kind of a continuing goal as we do our second round of grants to really make sure we're getting distribution across the city. Okay, a couple more. Did just want to break down the industry of these businesses, the top industries of the businesses getting our grants. You'll see a lot of familiar industries. A lot of your businesses are a part of these. Obviously, food services is right up at the top. That's been an industry that has been hardest hit during the pandemic. Lots of personal services businesses, retail, and then what we're really excited about as well is manufacturing and professional services. These were generally businesses that were not able to access COVID funding prior. So a lot of the grant programs that were out there were focused on kind of client or customer facing businesses, walk-in types of businesses. And so in many cases, manufacturing firms and professional services were left out of that. And then just some of the metrics we'll be tracking are obviously job creation. We're very focused on revenue growth. And then, we're very interested in businesses that are getting these grants. What kind of future capital are they accessing? And so those are things that we'll want to track. And then I'll just mention another point because this has been a really key focus of this network as we've been discussing, outcomes, metrics as a group. And we've talked to a lot of small business owners about what business owners count as important metrics. And in many cases, we're on different pages, right? What BDC and economic development agencies want to kind of count as outcomes or metrics are different than what a small business wants to count, right? And we're often focused on job creation, revenue growth, all that stuff is very important, obviously, to a local economy. But in many cases, when we talk to business owners, their kind of key outcomes are providing for their families, obviously, and then also contributing to their communities, right? Being good, kind of customer service businesses within their neighborhoods and communities. And, that's an important component of civic wealth, which is a key kind of undercurrent of this whole network, and that is, how are we doing things like closing the racial wealth gap by, for example, investing in BIPOC-owned businesses that can grow their wealth? How are we investing in businesses that really care about providing a good or a service or a product to their community? And as because we've got many of these business owners in the room, we're working with businesses, that really care about a double bottom line and about impact. So those are things that we're interested in tracking as well. That's the next slide. Yeah. Just quickly, the grant uses. We were very focused on wanting these grants to support the next phase of this recovery. So a lot of the prior COVID funds were used to help cover losses, help keep the doors open, the lights on, et cetera. These grants have been very focused on helping businesses as they look to pivot or as they look to invest in their business kind of under where we are in the current economy. And so a lot of the focus was on investing in professional services like marketing to reposition your business, e-commerce shops, bookkeeping services, legal services to review any contracts, that type of thing. And so that's kind of been a big focus, as well as new equipment, maybe kind of launching new lines of business. And that's something that we're excited about. And the really cool kind of positive, multiplier effect there is that many small businesses are contracting through these grants with other local small BIPOC-owned businesses who are marketing firms, web development firms, legal, law firms, and the like. So one or two more. Maybe you can grab a picture of this. I'm not going to read all the testimonials, but this is just kind of a snippet of 4 of the businesses who are grantees talking about kind of what they're doing. And I think what kind of the key takeaway for me is these are all businesses that are very focused on that double bottom line. So, we've got a business woman-owned business that is designing a new high-heel shoe line that's focused on comfort, and 10% of her revenue goes to young women with financial hardship from the death of a parent or guardian. We have Elite Secrets Bridal, who's creating a manufacturing bridal shop in Baltimore City. We've got a cosmetic manufacturing firm who's doing great work. And we have an affordable housing developer who is really achieving that double bottom line of developing houses that provide affordable home ownership. So with that, kind of what's next, and then let's open it up to the panel, is that we will be doing a second round of grants later this year. We don't have our announcement or date yet, but we're looking probably early fall. We're very interested in expanding our outreach, getting to even more businesses, getting to this point where we can touch 7,000 businesses over the next couple of years. And then we also really want to grow this directory of vendors, small businesses that are working with our grantees on websites, on marketing campaigns, on legal, on bookkeeping, on HR and the like. And then, ultimately, we want to be able to connect and extend this network to other partners, especially financial institutions. We want to be able to work with the M&Ts and the PNCs and all of the banks in the region who are looking to extend working capital loan products to the very same small businesses we're working with. So with that, I think I'll pass it back to Erica and let's have a conversation with partners.
Thanks so much, guys. So, it's a very tangible example of how important an ecosystem is, especially when it's intentional and tightly woven. So, with that, I'm going to start asking our panelists a few questions. So we'll start with very basic. Tell us your name, your organization. Tell us your name, your organization, what you do, what your organization does. And if you would, what has changed, if anything, since your participation or engagement with the TA network and eventually the BASE network? And just so everyone knows, we have 2 members of the original cohort and also 2 members that were added within the pivot to the Small Business Support Network. So you're hearing from folks who have kind of been through the whole gamut. So I will go ahead and start with Jay. So we'll start with you. What Innovation Works does and the role it plays, and how this opportunity has changed things for you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Jay Watch, I lead Innovation Works, and we have a subsidiary organization also called Human Capital that I also lead. Innovation Works, a parent organization, we primarily support social enterprises, so mission-led entities, whether you're nonprofit, for-profit, really relevant to us. They're looking to shift the trajectory of communities in Baltimore, primarily focused in disinvested communities. So we are supporting social enterprises from idea to scale, whether you have 20 ideas in your head, you just want to get started, or you're already been in business for 20 years and you want to help create more impact in Baltimore. We support those types of entrepreneurs. We've been in existence now for about 4 years and have supported over 100 folks over that period of time. And we don't really have alumni because we have this network and we just keep coming back, and it's kind of how we work. And then on the Unite Capital side, we launched that in March of 2020, an impact investment fund, which was a fun time to launch a fund. It was a $4 million test fund. The idea being that this fund is going to be used to get as creative and as risk embracing as possible to support the entrepreneurs that are in the Innovation Works system, right? As much of the work that we do is about relationships, so that we can do away with some of the traditional underwriting for capital, knowing that we've actually walked alongside entrepreneurs so that when they're ready for capital, there's a relationship that already exists, and much of that underpins what we call quote-unquote underwriting. We actually doubled down on actually deploying capital in the middle of the pandemic, and got started that way. And over the last 2 years now, we've probably deployed roughly $600,000-$700,000 in capital to entrepreneurs that we support, and are hoping to do more in the years to come. And what has changed for us, I try to be very careful about language. I always talk about the fact we support social enterprises. But social enterprises has a lot of overlap with nonprofits, micro businesses, and small businesses, right? So for us, being a part of the network is a better appreciation of the full scale of identities that exist in this ecosystem, and recognizing that given our own little lane is still a Venn diagram over other little lanes, and we can be in better partnership with folks that better serve the folks that are for us.
Thanks so much. Andy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andy Cook, founder and director of Made in Baltimore. Made in Baltimore's mission is promoting Baltimore's buy local movement. We're a program of the Baltimore Development Corporation, and we support makers and manufacturers here in Baltimore City. Primarily companies that are making consumer goods, the juices we drank this morning from Treehouse, the coffee that's roasted from Southeastern Roastery, these types of products. We are a membership-based organization, so a business that is in manufacturing in Baltimore City can apply for our free business certification, become what we call a member. We've got about 300 businesses in the network to date. And they are all across the city and do all kinds of different products. Our biggest categories are food and beverage, clothing and apparel, skin and hair care, furniture, carpentry, those types of things. We serve our members in kind of three primary ways. We do a lot of marketing and promotion. So you may have picked up a copy of the lookbook that we had in the back. That's one example of that type of marketing that we do for our members. Our pop-up stores, we do an annual holiday pop-up store, perhaps if you've been. That's another way that we promote, kind of make it easier for people in Baltimore to find and buy locally made goods. We also do a lot of business development, education. We run a series of free virtual workshops called Tools of the Trade, where we bring experts in any variety of business skills to present to our members about things from digital marketing to access to capital to even scaling up recipes for your products. Shout out to Jamila, she's somewhere in the back here. There she is, one of our instructors and members. And the last category of work is research and policy development. So the central component of that is our annual member survey. We survey all of our members to get the vital signs of their businesses and collect and translate that into kind of what we call the state of Baltimore's maker economy. And we use that to both create new programs that fill the needs of our makers, as well as create and advocate for policies in the city that are going to be beneficial to creating a business environment for small manufacturers. And let's see, have I covered all the topics?
Did anything change for you when you became part of the?
Oh, that's right, that's right. Well, I can say one thing that changes is we run a lot more meetings. Weekly meetings, as a matter of fact. But no, it's great. Yeah, we've become a lot more connected with all of the different support partners that are operating here in the city, which only makes us better at our job because we're able to refer our members to services that we may not provide, but others in the network do. And we've seen that really help what we call the super users really grow. And the super users are those businesses that participate in Made in Baltimore. Maybe they got products in our pop-up store. They're seeking capital from the lenders in the network. They're getting promoted by some of the neighborhood-based organizations in the network. There's really so many different ways. And when we see a business that's hitting all of those different components, they're growing the fastest. They're the most successful businesses. And so we see their success is our success. And as we've been able to help them navigate this landscape, we're seeing a lot more growth.
Great, thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Javier Rivas. I am a senior small business development manager at the Latino Economic Development Center. I've been with the organization for over 3 years. Began as a coach prior to my life at LEDC. I was an entrepreneur. I built a business, so I brought that experience over to LEDC and the coaching. So throughout LEDC, I moved up and I began managing our programs based out of Montgomery County. Through our work, we were able to expand into different markets. Specifically, this was the first. Last year was the first year that we received a grant through Prince George's County, and that is basically due to the work that we did around. I don't know if you're familiar with the Purple Line Light Rail corridor that's connecting Montgomery County and Prince George's County. So that's what we call, it falls under the Resilient Business Corridors program, which is focusing on areas that are rapidly gentrifying and experiencing construction. So Baltimore is fairly new to me. I mean, I'm happy to be here and learn more about it. I took over the Baltimore market early this year, so it's been a crash course. It's eye-opening, and I love the types of entrepreneurship that I see here versus in other markets. I think there's a lot of focus on developing a product and having something really solid before taking that leap to open a business. And I think that's great to have something really tangible and really, something you can write a story about, something that you really sell, and something that you really identify with. And I think I love that of what I've experienced so far in my work in Baltimore. So that's my introduction to Baltimore. But so LEDC, our mission is to basically educate and advance social advancement and economic stability for residents of the DMV area. We also have an office in Puerto Rico as well, so we're focusing on that as well. And we do that through providing tools to develop leadership skills, really, and entrepreneurial skills. And we also have we have 3 different departments. One focused on housing preservation and first-time homebuyer programs. Also the small business development program, which I'm a part of. And then we also have a small business lending grant as well. So we're constantly trying to integrate those two departments, just because I think financing is always the hook, I think, and then like it's the pie in the sky that when you come down to it, it's you really have to put in a lot of work and be organized and and people that have the energy, have the spirit, and that's what's good about working with a coach at LEDC is that we are able to make it work. It might not meet the original expectations of the entrepreneur as they come in and say, I need $100,000 to open my business, but it's like, okay, where's your menu? Where's your business plan? Let's work on a family budget. Even stuff simple like that. So we have that holistic approach. It's about not really about numbers. It's about that really understanding their story and their condition and the challenges that they face as perhaps new immigrants to the country or folks that might only have an ITIN number, and that we're lucky that we are able to have funds that are available for folks that are ITIN holders. And then most recently, newest department, I guess due to COVID, there was we created a direct community investments department as a way for administering grants for local governments, since there was so much money floating around at the beginning of the pandemic, COVID relief grants, and so we stepped up and we created a program really in a matter of weeks, and set up portals for applications, and so far it's been really successful. We've done grants for the Purple Line for DC, DHCD. It's so it's been a time of growth for us. So I think we want to look forward to the next step and seeing Baltimore flourish with our help as well. So let's see. I mean, that's been a major change during the pandemic as I started working with the team. Again, I'm fairly new to the base network, so I got right into it, and a lot of the initial conversations were like catching up and understanding what we were actually doing, and putting in my 2 cents every once in a while, being quiet sometimes, just listening and providing some feedback, maybe not stirring up too much trouble. But I think it's been definitely illuminating to see this network come together, and really every meeting we just have something to solve, and something comes out of those meetings that will help obviously our businesses access some of these funds, and other programs. So,
All right, thank you so much, and welcome back.
Okay.
So my name is Sydney. I'm the anxiety major of the Black Arts District. I don't know. But I am the outreach coordinator at the Black Arts District, and what I do is I give you the information about what's going on internally, and I give them the information about what you say is going on that we put out. Because it's very important how you're impacted, not what we think is going to impact you, not what we think we want to do. And so the goal of the Black Arts District is to memorialize and preserve, and also rebuild the Black histories, creative histories along Pennsylvania Avenue corridor, 1 block left and 1 block right. As we know, we used to have Art Social Club, Royals Theater, Billie Holiday, the names, and now when people say Pennsylvania Avenue, everybody got this feeling, this trauma and this feeling that comes, and that's from disinvestment in our communities. And so what we do is we invest again, and then we bring the party, and then we bring the creativity, and then we pull all our businesses, and that's what we're here for. We are here to create a new sound, a new atmosphere in those areas, and we do it through our businesses, we do it through our creatives. We very much understand that we built the city. And so when you build something and it's taken away and you are the underdog, it's really hard to build yourself back up. You know what I mean? You wait for other people, you wait, and they don't come. And so this is a way of us building our own communities. This is a way of us taking that initiative and saying like, okay, it's time for us to come together. It's time for us to give out these funds. It's time for us to be a liaison. Because something that we also understand is that within our community, there are multiple cultures. And within our community, in those cultures, there are multiple languages. And I'm not even talking English and Spanish, I'm talking how we speak. Hey, y'all, hey, grand rising, good morning. That is a difference in people's culture and their belief systems. And so that is what we're here for. We're here to find those different codes, learn them, and bring the information to our communities in ways that our communities can understand. Because that's another thing, like, even people always talk about, like, kids won't be able to read the documents because they can't read cursive, things like that. And so thinking about our communities, we won't be able to get into boardrooms because we can't speak right, or we don't have the funding right, or we don't have initiatives of support. And that is what we're here for. We're here to get us into those rooms. We're here to get us into those rooms and speak in those rooms and tell them we have value here. And half of the rooms we build. So it's time for us to like build ourselves back up. And so that's what we do. We have actually jurisdiction over a geographical corridor, as I said, the Pennsylvania Avenue corridor. So it's not just over here in Baltimore, like we actually take this geographical area and we bring all our communities together within this area and we talk about what we need and we start for the events, programs, and we do it through these arts. Because what happens when, like 2020, what happened in 2020? Everything went down and people went to the arts. Because the arts is what keeps our communities going. The artists are the politicians if we really pay attention to it. The artists are the trends. The artists are the people who get the paradigm shifting. And so we are here to support our artistry because even in our cultures, the arts has always been our best way of expression. Through the languages, through the hieroglyphics on the walls, like we've always been creators and creatives. And so it's time for us to like come together, build our communities in different ways and in ways that people wouldn't understand if they're not from our community. And so that's what we're here for. Some things that changed coming to Base Network is having a network, having support and building and having funding and then creating outreach programs. So it wasn't about just creating these programs and they sit in a pocket, you know what I mean? It was like, now we have the funding to take these programs and pour them out. So we have sponsorship programs called Project Restart with Capital Art at the end. Because what we want to do is we want to build those artistic, cultural happenings in our city again. Like once the economy went down, people can't have events. Venues cost so much. It costs so much to get an artist to perform. It costs so much to get supplies. So we started giving money to Black cultural creatives who have cultural events within Baltimore, and we help to promote them, we sponsor them, we get them on our artist registry so that other people can actually book them as well. And that pushes the economy, that breaks that economic gap. Because we can say like, oh, come together, but we know capitalism is the thing, and we know that we need that capital, right? And if there's a capital gap, there's probably a gap of being seen, being heard, being represented, being valued. And so that's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that that gap, if it exists, we acknowledge it, we sit in it, and we hold our hands up so we can walk across each other, we can help each other. And that's what it's for. I don't know if you've ever seen that thing with the big spoon, and like everybody's trying to eat, and everybody's like knocking each other off with the big spoon. But if one person takes the spoon and feed the person across from them, and the next person takes the spoon and feed the person across from them, the next, everybody gets fed. And that's what it's really about. It's not about taking spoons out of people's mouths. It's about understanding that it's time for us to make spoons if we want to get fed. And so that's what we know. We're making the spoons to get fed. We're grateful for BDC. We're grateful for the Base Network for the space to feed our people. So that's what's changed. We've been able to feed our people and actually get it out there.
So I know I'm going to try and get us back on time, on track. And so I had questions for each of our panelists, and I think you have a sense of the different roles that organizations are playing in the ecosystem and what they actually offer. So I'm happy to open it up to our audience for questions. And as you all are contemplating your questions, one that I would ask the panelists to sit with is, what is one thing that you would offer up to businesses that are in the room right now? What do they need to know? Just one thing about sort of moving through this ecosystem or kind of approaching, if not your organizations, kind of on their understanding or how we share this understanding of the base network. What's one nugget that you would leave with folks today? And I would ask that of businesses in the room, like what's one thing that you want the folks up here to know? But then also we'll have the questions. So I'll start with that. So if you could just kind of run through, and we'll start with you, Sydney. Yeah.
One thing you should know is take the risk. Jump, take the risk, talk to the person, think about the thought, tell them about the idea you haven't even developed. Just take the risk, because you never know who you're talking to or what they'll be able to do for you. Even if they can't do anything for you, it might be practice for when you actually do talk to the person that can do something for you. So take the risk. It's all about the energy you put out, especially if it's your business. Don't expect, even your employees, don't expect anybody to come into your business and put as much energy as you. And if you do, then you need to ask yourself your why again and figure that out. But never expect anyone to put as much energy in, and never expect for the opportunities to fall in your lap without you having to take a move as well. So they do fall in your lap, but if your lap is not open for them to fall into, where it's going to go. You know what I mean? My mom always told me this analogy, and this is the last part I'm going to say about it. And it was about the cup. If it's always raining and your cup upside down, you're still never going to be full. If your cup sideways, you might get halfway full. But if your cup is in the right position, you'll always be full and overflowing into another cup. So just be in the right position.
Write your council, actually, no, that's something about writing your council member, really. I mean, it's just identifying who your allies are. I mean, I think that's kind of a big first step, you know, and I think we, maybe, we live in communities that might not be like homogeneous, right? And so a lot of the times, because of systematic racism, we're kind of pitched against each other. And really, even within, Latino communities, even Black communities, I think, especially when there's like a saturation of certain types of businesses in certain areas, and I think, I think that's over. The time is over. We can't do that anymore. So, just as we as service providers are, at one point, I think we were seen as fighting over the same kind of pot of money. I think it just kept us siloed in our little corners, and so we weren't collaborating, we weren't getting case histories. We might get someone, that had worked with us in the past, and we could have made a call and had gotten a more complete picture of where they are, financially. Talk to your neighbors, find a mentor that is in a similar field. I think, I don't know if there are mentorship programs. I do know because we do have a program in West Baltimore that's run by our Empower Women International program, which focuses on women entrepreneurs, and that's very mentor heavy. It's classes, intensive, workshops, modules on kind of business development, and I think the success of that, it shows that it has been successful because of folks who have gone through that program come back and mentor the ladies that are just getting started. So I think I would like to see more of those programs around, and I think just kind of getting over this mentality that we're just kind of fighting against each other and competing, and we all have a tiny sliver of the pie, which is just not true. I think we can all get to that. Just your neighbor, ask around. There's so much work being done. Go to the library. Even libraries now have like such extensive business resource centers, and just kind of documents that you might need. Guidelines, templates of documents that you might need. So I think There's Main Street programs. I think we have some Main Street folks here that, that's kind of like the beginning of this kind of collaborative effort, right? Some like central administrator that is knowledgeable and is able to point people to the right direction, and it's still, there's different levels of success, I guess, depending on the geography, but I think it's work, this is something, maybe at some point it was focused on like historic preservation or something, but let's talk more about cultural preservation and people preservation, and not just the buildings, right? So, they can point you in the right direction, council members, just make noise. And again, I think there are allies in government that will be able to like take your call and point you in the right direction. So I think that's my advice to you all.
We ran a pop-up store down the street on North Avenue a couple of years ago. And in the back of the store, we had a pink couch where our members eventually took to coming in, lying down, and complaining about how hard it was for that business. And we called it business therapy. And it was great because, maybe not every time, but sometimes we were actually able to provide some help, steer them in a direction that was able to help them address something that was going on. And I think that there's a tendency, that we all experience, that it's like great to crow about it when things are going really well, but maybe you don't want to share when things aren't going very well. And we have, in the last couple of years, had several members close their doors somewhat unexpectedly. Unexpected to us because they hadn't reached out to let us know that they were having these challenges. And I would say, when things are hard, please do reach out to any of these entrepreneur support organizations, because we often have some kind of resource, some kind of support that can help you get through whatever it is you're experiencing. And the second thing I'll say, if I can, one more thing, make sure your business is in good standing with the state of Maryland. This was probably the number one issue people encountered when they were unable to access a lot of the COVID relief money. And it's a weird little accounting thing, but it's worth checking out.
I'll actually pick it back up down. That's what I was going to say. I struggle with this, and it's this never-ending habit formation thing. The notion of working on your business versus in your business. Most people don't get into a business to go run a business. Get into a business to do the thing you love, whether it's making, serving, and I would rather spend all of my days sitting in front of entrepreneurs and whiteboarding. But I also have to run 2 nonprofit organizations with 13 employees. There's a lot of things I need to do to make sure that they can do their jobs. So for me, I struggle with that. So I just make Fridays my, hey, just want to check up on Monday or so I can spend Monday through Thursday doing the things that I have to do because it's my job. So really back to the basics of making sure your stuff is tight, your documents, those things, when opportunity falls, when those things are not in place, you just can't take advantage of them. So I just encourage you to spend more time, just a little bit, even if it's just 10, 20%, working on the business versus in the business. And don't get carried away with the being count.
I just want to add one thing as well. This is just a very specific piece of information for business owners, and that is to know that all of our organizations, all 15 groups in this network, we all talk to each other daily. We do one weekly meeting, and so it's not that much, but we communicate with each other daily. And I say that because if you get an email from one of us, keep in mind that we're all connected on that email. So, maybe you get an email from Jay about a base network program or about your grant, and you might be thinking, but wait a second, that grant check I got has Baltimore Development Corporation on the check. I should be hearing from BBC about the grant. Keep in mind that we're all talking together about that. So, you can talk to any one of the partners who's working with you and know that talking to them, you're kind of talking to all of us because we're all coordinated. So just an important piece of information, because I know it can be confusing where you might be saying, well, I'm working with Impact Hub, part of the base network, with a grant from the EDC and maybe a loan from LEDC, just know that it's all one, we're all connected. It's different organizations in the partnership, but we all talk to each other about you guys. And we're constantly talking about, hey, so what's going on with Candy? Candy wants to make a modification to her budget for the grant. You know, she might be talking to Andy, she might be talking to Impact Hub. Regardless of who she's talking to, we're all coordinated around that. So just know that.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, so how much time do we have? Okay, we're negative 15 minutes right now. Okay, so knowing that we're negative 15 minutes, the rest of the day is yours. If anyone has any questions of our panelists. Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Serge Chambers. I'm representing Austin Vision Studios. We're a Web3 based production company for music, gaming, as well as movies, located here in Baltimore. I was live streaming this, and I didn't get the name of the organization, so I had to show up in person. I just wanted to represent for the 14 people who may be watching alongside me on YouTube. Could y'all just reiterate the name? It's just for
The Base Network?
Yeah, Base Network.
You want to?
Yep, so it's called the Base Network Business Assistance for Support and Equity. The key thing is, which I haven't said yet, is our website where all of the partners are listed, all the information about grants, about our vendor directory. If you're a web development firm, an e-commerce shop, you can become one of the vendors and then partner with some of our grantees. So it's BaltimoreBaseNetwork.org. BaltimoreBaseNetwork.org.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Marlo Hall. I'm a rehabilitation specialist with Caress Health Services. Phenomenal job. Thank you with the vital information that was shared. What we do here in the Baltimore regional area is provide services for those, and I don't want to dance around the elephant in the room. So I want to be specific in my words, saying mental health is real. Mental health is real to the fact that to touch the core of what is being done here, not just in Baltimore, but throughout the country. We provide those services for the youth, for the adults, men, women, and children, to be able to be providing PRP, psychiatric rehabilitation program, and helping them to get that connectivity of care and the continuity to keep moving forward. So I have brochures, I have flyers as well. I'll be willing to pass along that information and gather your information so that we can not only just give out business cards or kumbaya and have this conversation and eat some good food, but to be able to provide some, not just resources, but reliable resources so that we can make a greater impact for the work that you all are already doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. How do you guys take a look at corporations, companies that are like incorporated and they are in stages? Because I dealt with Baltimore Lending, and the process was that sort of like you go for a loan for a bank, they ask you for a credit score and everything else. But at a stage, let's say a corporation at a stage where they are at a like securities, unregistered, they file for exemption for securities, and they had a Reg D, they file for registration D, registration S, and they already got an offering, a PPM, a private placement offering. How does lending and fundraising go with a company at that stage? Thank you very much.
I will attempt to take this one. Somebody who actually has a PPM. I think it's a unique question. So at 12 o'clock, the discussion about access to capital and the nuances that goes along that process. When you start using language like PPMs, we started talking about equity investing, right? Once you've made the decision that you're going to pursue equity investing, then you have to reassess what other tools are available to you or may no longer be available to you for that reason. Because quite frankly, a lot of the resources that we have around capital, I would say are just archaic. They're not tools to serve the new ways we think about doing business. And as soon as you make that decision, you're gonna recognize immediately like maybe a bunch of resources that were available no longer available. Because it just puts them in a different position because they have to assess your business differently. Now, in our world, we talk about capital stacks, right? Different types of capital for different uses of capital. And you may be able to say, hey, I need to raise $500,000, but $75,000 I need in grants for this very specific purpose. And a foundation would be interested in is divorced and disaggregated from all the other capital that I have and communicate that separately. And then go to your equity investor and say, this is what's for you, right? Because they need to be protected because they're buying shares in your company at this point. And they don't want to hear that you're taking money from a foundation and then go to a CDFI because it kind of messes with their structure and how they invest. So we can talk more about that if you're around, but I just think this is a more detailed conversation because that type of capital creates more complexity.
Quick announcement, if anyone's parked in the lot right here, your car is being towed right
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Sorry about that. I did just want to add on to Jay, and then I think we have one more question over here. And Jay will get into this in his session this afternoon, but the larger topic of access to capital is something we really want to hear from you guys about. You know, as Jay is well aware of the work that he's doing, there's not a lot of products out there, right? Like as an industry in general, we're not very creative with financial products for small businesses. There's loans, equity, grants, sometimes things in between. So, you know, we as organizations, as partners in the network, we're looking at innovative and new types of products as individual organizations like Innovation Works, but also as a network. And then we've also begun conversations with many of the banks that themselves are looking to innovate and to come up with new types of product lines for you guys that, you know, that really work for small businesses that are different from what we've seen in the past. So I say all that because one of the follow-ups we want to have with many of the businesses is hear from you guys on, you know, what types of products can be useful for you.
Yeah, I just really wanted to add really quickly, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think that right now there's a lot of opportunity in green lending. I think that's one of the kind of big areas of growth for lending. So just helping small businesses integrate, you know, sustainable design in their buildings. I know LEDZ is working with a DC Green Bank, also in Puerto Rico. So I would be interested to hear about if there is a Baltimore Green Bank and what they're planning on. If they're planning on developing some similar products, you know, that it's money that can, again, this could be for construction, infrastructure improvements, you know, weatherization, you know, just kind of sustainable design for your buildings and for your business models. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing in the coming months. So we just announced a big partnership with the DC Green Bank. So I hope to see something similar in you know, in Baltimore as well.
Okay, so unfortunately, we're gonna have to wrap up. We do have skill shares this afternoon so that you can actually ask some targeted questions based on what your individual needs might be. So first of all, thank you so much, Michelle, for inviting me and the panel to be here as part of this conversation. And thank you all for being here. So, and thank you to the panelists for joining me up here today.
Yeah, just tremendous thank you to everybody on the panel. And wanting to give that space to keep talking, it does mean we got to catch up a little bit of time on the break. So what's going to happen next? There is a panel that's going to be here starting at 11 with Ben and Eric. They're coming around ARPA grants specifically. So you've got questions around like how that works and how to get ready for next time and some of the granular stuff around the ARPA grants. That's happening in here. On the other side, starting at 11, there's going to be a panel with alumni from the Empower program. So if you have, if you're interested in support, building your digital presence, building your website, building your brand, especially online, you can hear the experience that folks have had in the program. If you are Empower alumni and want to go in there and also share some faces, share some of your experiences, you're also welcome to go in there. So that's what's happening next. There's still food and coffee and things, so do that. Headshots should be set up on the north side, so get yourself signed up then. So this is kind of like, you know, and if you want to have conversations, kind of networking conversations, sidebars, connect with any of these folks, you can also head up to Open Space North. And yep, go ahead.
For those of us, I may be the only one, but for those of us who may not know what the ARPA is, because there were not really descriptions. So if you could kind of just let us know what those were, what that is, then that would be helpful to figure out.
In a very brief nutshell, these are small business grants. It's sort of what some of what Ben presented on in terms of the grants that were just went out, the 4.5 million that went out. There's another round of grants coming up in the summer or in the fall, like most likely. So just talking about, what it looks like to access those grants that are coming from the city. And ARPA is just the federal funding source that's flowing through the mayor's office and ultimately down to the network.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a lot of acronyms, anytime, all day. If you hear an acronym and you don't know, stop us, ask us. This is a safe space. We will throw way more jargon around than we should. And that's why we're here, is to slow down and make it sound like English. So, or Spanish, because we've got other, other language, any language you want to bring in. So that's that. Thank you so much for the attention. We are going to be here kind of all day long. There's schedules around the space. So choose your own adventure, flow as you need to, and yeah, let's just give us a final thank you to this group.
Sorry. Hi, Q. How are you?
Got two of the three. All right.
Oh, right from here, and then you're gonna turn right to the mail room. Yeah. So, take a right through here, and then you're gonna make a left. And the code's on the door, moving out. Okay, yeah, right through here. To the right and to the left, but look at the code on the way. No problem. Oh, that's another. Oh, no, not yet. Tell me top.
We have a very small business, it's just three of us. But all of that basically are
them, it's like back on that. And then I just like I put it up there. And they're really
It's like, oh, it's the music playing.
Yeah, from the
From the
projector.
thing, yeah. How you doing?
What's it all about?
So the power program is a 6-week cohort for micro-businesses and for you online.
Do you know how to control the board? Are you the sound person?
No, this isn't my expertise.
Is anybody
It's
here?
my first time actually seeing it.
Is anybody here who set it up or they're already gone? They set it up and left.
Yeah, they just rolled it here and expected us to figure it out. Yeah, it's a good time to troubleshoot. I mean,
What about the split out from your outs there? Coil it correctly, there's no knots. If you say, hold this and I'll come behind you and get it. So I take it this is all up and running, like we should be getting sound.
Yes.
So do you think, can I?
What's going on, man?
So maybe
Good.
the,
How you been?
I'm not
Look
gonna
great,
think of maybe the lights.
Yeah. Did you, I love, every time I can see new kimono. I like that. Kimono game. Dude, change your Instagram handle to that. That's funny.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't make that hashtag. You know what I got here? I got the Oculus. Oh, you got? I got one because of you guys. I've been having so much fun with it. They just upgraded it too, so it's like more. I got whatever the Meta Quest. Yeah. It's been so fun. So many workouts. Don't you feel like you really were? What's that? Really feel like you're there. I have a big enough space where I can box and all that stuff. So it's been awesome. Am I good if I'm here?
The only thing is, Joel, there's a Facebook Live happening here.
Okay, so if I stand.
In the corner, you're fine.
Okay. Just want to make sure I don't get up on the cables.
Yes. I'm Jessica. I'm a producer working with both groups. Are you comfortable with us putting some microphones on you for the panel? Yeah. So we can catch them that mic and for our production. Mariana, our sound person, she's going to be doing next year. It'll be okay, and yeah, we'll be doing some work on it later in the day. I'm also later going to have you after the panel sign these.
Good, is it still morning? As I say, good morning. Yes. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. We're still waiting on two other panelists, and our other moderator, and then we'll get started.
This is the.
Yeah, we don't need it. Yeah, we actually don't need slides.
Okay. Let's keep the thing moving. Okay.
Yeah, probably distract the video. We actually, we could just
turn the whole thing up.
No, I'm just gonna blink.
Okay. Good.
We've got two panelists coming.
Okay.
So if you come, can you just have them sit on the two chairs in the back?
We'll do.
Yeah. also, we're doing a couple of things at once. So we're also in the middle of filming a documentary about the Empower Baltimore program. And so they're also getting mic'd up for the film crew. So. While we'll do that, we can go ahead and get started with introductions for me and our other moderators. So if y'all were here earlier, you met me. My name is Q. Oh, sorry. Let me wait.
Yeah, 1 second.
I just like jumped in and after I said that we're doing a documentary.
Go for it.
Okay, so we are going to get started now, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself and our other moderator. My name is Q Ragsdale. I'm the Director of Acceleration here at Impact Hub Baltimore, and also the lead business coach for the Empower Baltimore program. And I have here with me Bakari, who is our Empower Baltimore manager.
Good morning, I'm Bakari, Empower Program Manager.
And yeah, so we have been working with our team to put on the Empower Baltimore program. We started back last fall, where we started with a cohort, what we call kind of our focus group, like a pilot cohort of a small group of people just to kind of test out how we were doing things and iterate. And it was a really, really iterative process. And we had Janae, who is in here, who's also on the team. And so this particular part of the program is a 6-week learning cohort that takes place here in person, in real life, in 3D. And the participants are with us for 3 hours a week. The first week is actually 4 hours because we have like a lot of orientation stuff to do. And then 3 hours a week. And then we also have office hours. And so it ends up becoming a little family. And I'm really excited to be able to share with you the participants and their experience. It looks like I'm gonna keep stalling. This is when I wish I had rehearsed some of my stand-up comedy jokes, but I did not do that. So let's see, what else can we share? Okay, well, yeah, so a wide range of businesses in terms of industry. We had everything from clothing designers to restaurants, somebody in construction, we had a bakery, we had, a person who has a mobile hair braiding business. This is like, it really runs the gamut. And the really cool thing is it was a range of ages. And so it's like, I'm excited about how diverse that was. And then we have a lot of people who did not have websites at all. And so the thing about the program is it's sponsored by GoDaddy. And so you get GoDaddy products, and we're really working to help you enhance your online presence. And so either that means to refresh like a bad website, or if you don't have a website, then we will help you, give you the tools so that you can build your own new website. But in case you don't know, it's not just about having a website. It's no field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. That's not how it works. It's like if you have the website, you have to know how to leverage it, which means your website strategy needs to be a part of an overarching digital strategy. And so this 6-week program touches on all of that, where we teach the businesses other little things about business strategy and digital strategy to help them leverage their existing website or retool it or build a new website. And so, 6 weeks, 6 different modules. We have guest speakers, and I might be done stalling. Awesome. Okay. Over there. And all right. So excited because we have 2 of our participants. Hopefully another 2 will be joining us. I know we have one back there in the back who I might call on to come and join us. So I want to go ahead and allow you to introduce yourselves. And so we're just going to start off with your name and your business and your industry, and then how long you've been in business.
Hello, my name.
I'm definitely not in the tech industry. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyron Harper, and I'm one half of the ownership of Heart Vision. Heart Vision is a body care business, and we promote self-care.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Clayton, and I am the owner and inventor of White Paws Run. It's a mitten designed for runners, walkers, and outdoor people. I've been in business since 2016.
So go ahead and hold on the mic, Susan, and tell us why you decided to apply for the Empower Baltimore program to begin with.
First, I've always designed my website, which I don't really know how to do it, so it was sort of pretty basic. And when I saw that there was a program that would help me develop my website better, I was like, I'm on that. Plus, it was sponsored by GoDaddy, and my web host was already GoDaddy, so I figured it would be a great way to make my website so much better.
So when I saw it, I said, oh my goodness, this is what we need. We didn't have a problem selling our products in person, but we had an issue with it carrying over to our website. So I said, I need some knowledge. I don't have the tools I need to actually promote my website, to design it, and just the different stuff on the background, like creating blogs and everything. And that's what I got from the Empower program.
You kind of leading into my next question there, which was, tell me about some of your biggest takeaways from the program.
One of my biggest takeaways from the program was the persona profile. Really getting to know my customer. What are their needs? What are their fears? What are their greatest accomplishments? What do they need from me, and what can I provide? So that was one of my greatest takeaways, just really getting to know my customer.
Same question. I'm going to piggyback on that. Yes, definitely the persona profile. I was trying to figure out how to increase my, I targeted more on runners, and I realized by doing that profile, there were so many other people who could use my mittens, and and what they were looking for, things that I never thought about. Like when I first came back with all the information that I got, and I said to Q, I was like, I don't get this. And he just said, look at it this way. And I was like, you get that aha moment. And I was like, oh, that's how this works. And it was something that I had never looked at and never thought about. And it was nice having somebody else behind you, helping you hit targets and hit information that you would never think that you just would have never thought that way. Your thought process is focused on one thing, and having someone else help you look and broaden your perspective.
So let me give some context on what they're talking about. The first 2 weeks of the program, we don't even touch your website. We're not even talking about digital. We focus on something that's called persona research. Has anybody here heard of that? And who here has done persona research or customer discovery? Let me see some. Oh, no. One hand over there that's not an audience member. A little so-so. Okay, so I hope we're going to get some applications from this group. So what it is we actually send you out to talk to your customers. It's an entire process. And it's actually a scientific research method that we teach you how to perform, and then you collect the data, and then we help you analyze the data, because you're going to use all of that to make all of your decisions. Because otherwise, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And so it's a 2-week process, and it's kind of condensed, but that's what they're talking about. And so just to touch on that a little bit more, we're how many of your customers were you able to interview, and about how long were those interviews?
I'm still interviewing customers now.
Yes, that's the right answer.
So I know during the class I did about 8. And what I realized is I kept saying our customers are females between the age of 25 and 49. Wasn't true. Our customers are caregivers, men, women, children, whoever it is, people that care for other people who forget themselves. And what I realized is we started to cater to caregivers, and that's when we started seeing a momentum in our business, because we knew who our customers were. We could identify with them because it was something that we were already. And it just made so much sense. So right now I'm still interviewing people. When I get new customers, I'm interviewing them, asking questions about price points, and is it quality over price? What's stopping you from buying, and what makes you buy? So I'm using it to this day. And I encourage anybody in here to sign up for Empower Baltimore.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel bad. I did about 5 interviews, but I kept getting the same answers from everybody that I interviewed. And I was like, it showed me that what I was missing, because it was everybody's giving me the same answer, and it's not the answer I was expecting. So I must be, not that I was doing anything wrong, I just wasn't broadening my search, and I wasn't broadening what I was thinking of, because I was like in a completely different direction. But then when I talked to my customers and friends and family and just people who had been, I was getting like the same answer. And I was like, wait a minute, that's nothing what I was thinking. So I think so now I was able to like focus in on more on what they were saying, opposed to like, this is where I want to go, but no, I need to broaden that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I also didn't do just customers. I did people who followed us on social media. So they never purchased anything, but they supported us. They liked our status, or they shared or commented or something. So I actually reached out to them too to see why haven't, what made them not purchase that, or which attracts you to our page, and what makes you like our stuff. So I reached out to everybody.
Which is something that we taught in the program. Star Peoples up here. What other, besides the persona research, what other things, that really stuck with you that, like, if you don't have to think about, like, what's top of mind, something else that is a takeaway from the program?
Really getting out of my own way. I really did not like doing videos and live videos and really exposing myself on social media or any platform. Even sitting up here in front of you guys talking was not my strength. So just being able to do it scared, do it with fear, or I used to say I just don't like it, but no, it was a feeling. So just being able to do it anyway, and Q did that. Like, I remember doing in class, we had to get up and dance or just do meditation or listen to music and do movement and stuff like that. And it just made me come out of my shell. So that was another thing, exposing myself and talking to customers about what I'm going through as well, because we get to identify and see that we are the same.
Oh, the question is, what other takeaways did you have from the program?
Mine is going to be more technical. I was like the Google analysis, SEOs, blogging, how to get people to how to generate get your page up better on Google analysis. On Google searches and stuff like that. Things that I did not know, and I was like trying to figure it out. But like every week we had someone who would come in and talk to us about certain things, and it was just again, some of it was like going over my head. But then I would ask someone in the class. I'd ask Bakari, or I'd ask Q, I'd ask, and all of a sudden it would just it was like they were able to put it into language that I could understand. Because sometimes when you hear all these technical terms and stuff, like somebody asked out there what was like an acronym, and then they said, let me tell you what that is. Because sometimes we hear these words and this information, and we kind of go like, oh, okay, yeah. But because you don't want to look like you don't know something. But it was such a safe space that when and everybody was in the same space, like we all didn't know stuff. So we all felt comfortable being able to ask everybody who was either here or one of the facilitators what that meant. And we didn't feel like they were looking down on us or you should know this. It was like, no, this is what it was. And it was one thing I was like, it was something with Google analysis. And I was like, I don't understand this. Why isn't this working? And she was like, wait a minute, let's go back and work. And then I tell you, it was 5 minutes and it was solved.
Awesome. I'm gonna have hand the mic over to Bakari in case Bakari has a question.
Yeah, I think there are folks that are also watching us, I think on YouTube, which is also cool. So one of my questions I think would be helpful for people considering applying for the Empower program is what was your learning curve? Did you come in feeling overwhelmed? What was the challenges that you had in terms of learning and just applying the material?
Yeah, it was a big learning curve for me because I'll use this terminology. It's like sometimes when we look at technology and stuff, to some of us, especially to me, and I've been using this lately, it's like a foreign language. So you might have to have 3 or 4 screens up. One screen that tells you one thing that's explaining it, one screen that's giving it to you in your language, and then the other screen that's telling you in the other language. So you got all these screens up trying to figure out, I don't understand this language. And here, I was like, this is gonna help me not have those 3 screens up. I was like, technology is one language, what I speak is something else, and then how to apply it is something else. And by taking this program, I was able to have one of those, like the language translated for me. Does that make
For me, it was just a vibe when I first got here. It was a vibe and an environment created where it made me feel comfortable enough to learn, to really learn what was going on in the class. And basically, I remember talking about like the website and the keywords that you would use, stuff that I didn't know mattered. Like I didn't know that part of it. I just thought you just put your products on, you tell people go buy stuff. I didn't know there was a science behind it all. So it was the vibe that was created. And I'm not gonna tell y'all what the vibe was. You gotta sign up.
And I wanted to bring up a surprise panelist, surprise to her. So this is Miss Olivia, who is our heart. So Miss Olivia is not quite, but close to my mom's age, and came into the program. And it's okay if I tell the story the first day. So the first day, her computer wouldn't log on to the Wi-Fi, and so then we had some extra computers, but then that computer wasn't her computer. And Miss Olivia does not have a tech business. Miss Olivia has Miss Olivia's nails, and you can check out my manicure, and I take off my shoes, show you my pedicure. I was there last Friday. And so she was like, I don't do this tech stuff. I do nails and stuff all day. And I was like, it's okay, Miss Olivia. So I could talk her off the ledge because she was about to leave the program. And she's like, this is a tech program and I can't get it. And so I wanted to bring her up here just as an example of someone who is not tech savvy, of someone who is not in our generation, who is also a business owner. And a lot of times our elders who have businesses kind of get left out. And so I just wanted her to be able to share her experience. So if you can grab that mic and just first tell us why you even applied to the program.
Hello, everyone. I applied to the program because I knew that I and not just my business, but me personally, I felt like I was suffering and drowning out here in a high-tech world and just continuing to sink into a lack of understanding what to do and how to do it. And I felt a little embarrassed because I had been in business for so long, and yet I'm suffering not because I'm not good at what I do. I'm suffering because not that I haven't gotten in touch with my customer. My suffering was happening because I couldn't compete with the education and the knowledge that was out here amongst the millennials and everything else that was going on technology-wise. And as a result, my business was suffering. Like you said, I was saying, hey, I don't need to be on no computer. I'm filing nails all day. And that was my attitude. And so every time, I approached the whole website information. I approached all of it with an anxiety that I thought I was alone with. And one of the things that I got out of the program is that I learned how not alone I was, that a lot of people were suffering from this, and that I was in a safe space where I could allow my vulnerability to be seen, and therefore, then I can approach the growth that I needed.
So good. Thank you so much. This was like every Monday morning, like Miss Olivia, part of what we do is not just work on your website and your business presence, but you're here with other business owners. And how often do you as a business owner get to be around 29 other entrepreneurs like yourself? And so we had intentional community building time where they got to get together and talk about the assignments, what we were working on, but then also their own challenges. So many different collaborations erupted from that. So my next question is if you could just talk about the community building aspect of the program, if you were expecting it and what you gained from it. We'll start with you.
My expectations coming in was that we were going to learn stuff. It was going to be somebody at the board. We were going to learn, write our stuff down, and leave. I didn't realize that we were going to get small groups with people who had similar businesses to us. I didn't know that we were going to share our challenges, our highs, our lows. I didn't know that I was going to be able to collaborate with some of the other business owners after the class and do different events. So it was mind blowing that I was in a room with people who were part of my tribe. It was like we thought the same way, we felt the same way. I didn't have that with family and friends because they couldn't understand what I was doing as a business owner. They knew me as Tyra. They didn't know me as a business owner. They didn't know my wife as a business owner. They just knew us as who we were. So coming here was like, wow, I'm meeting my people. I feel like I had family outside of my bloodline, you know? And it was an awesome experience.
I'm gonna share a little bit. So one of the things that I wanted to do with my business, and it was fun, was to it was artists here, there were other people here, to collaborate with somebody who was within the class. And I was able to do that. It's a secret, we'll tell you what's gonna come out in the fall, but I did collaborate with, I collaborate with one of my friends who was in the class. We were in another class a couple years ago, but we were in the same class again this year. And I was like, we need to connect and we need to collaborate. And it was nice to be able to just meet other people and talk. Like you said, it was like, sometimes other people don't know what we're going through, and it's nice to talk to people who know what you're going through, but it's also nice to feel like I can be vulnerable within this space and say, I don't understand that, or I don't know what you're talking about. And especially like when Olivia was saying, like the whole computer thing, I am not a millennial, I'm not a Gen X, so you know where I am. So for me, again, it was like, how do I learn? You know, it was like, sometimes when it might take me 12 hours to do something on a computer, where it might take a millennial or a Gen X 10 minutes. And that's the thing, that's why we were able to be vulnerable and say, yeah, it's taking me forever. Can you show me how I can shortcut this? Because I can't keep using this brain space to figure these things out. It has to be easier than this.
Yeah.
Same question for you, Ms. Lee.
I absolutely agree with that. Especially the point of how it takes me, like I can do this stuff. I'm pretty smart when I, put my time in. I can figure things out, but it just consumes so much time that I already don't have. I mean, we were just really squeezing in this 3 hours a week, literally shutting down our businesses and just so that we could gain this information. And that was a sacrifice within itself. But just to leave this environment, the learning environment, and realize that only just began. That 3 hours was really more like a 1 minute seed to the work that I really needed to get done. I was coming here learning what needed to take place, the persona research, and even just to research just the address for my GoDaddy website and all the things that, you pick up the seed of it in here, but the real work and the hours to take place outside of here, that was something that kind of hit me, a little hard, because I was like, wait a minute, I'm already sacrificing 3 hours. But you don't get anything out of your 3 hours if you are not prepared to go home and get the homework done. You're not really accomplishing the task. My goal after all of this is to have Empower Baltimore say to me, your work is complete, that you've gotten everything out of our program that they set for us to get. And so right now, that's still my struggle. My experience with Empower Baltimore is not over. I'm kind of still in class outside of here because I'm still completing some of the wonderful tasks that were given to us. But it's strangely amazing that just with an inkling of the learning tools that I picked up, that my business, I literally already see my business growth. I mean, just as a visual example, I probably picked up literally about 6 regular customers already just from the class environment. I mean, that's the easy example. But aside from that, I really do see business growth in a lot of ways. So, and I'm just getting started.
Thank you so much, Ms. Olivia. And so after that first class, when Ms. Olivia was like, and so I was like, okay, let's hop on a Zoom because my mom is retired. She just retired from teaching school. And so she retired the year after the pandemic. So she had to switch to virtual. My mom was like, what is all this tech stuff? So pretty much all of 2021, I would get a phone call from my mom and I'd have a special Zoom account set up for her. She was at school, we'd hop on Zoom. I taught her how to share her screen. So then after that, I could walk you through everything. So I had to learn all this like elementary classroom programs and stuff. And so I would understand like when you don't know something, and then when I would teach it to her and she would get it, it would just like free up her brain space. And she was so stressed. You know, I was like, we don't need you stressed teaching these little first graders. And so it's the same thing because it's like our businesses are like our children, right? And so when you have this stress about something that you love so much, you know there's a way to do it, but you just can't get there. It just like warms our heart. And so I love Miss Olivia on Zoom for like an hour. And then she made me come in and get a pedicure. And I was like, I'm good, Miss Olivia, it's okay, it's okay. She's like, no, you help me. No, you have to come in. And so, and now I'm a regular customer. And I was just like, who knew? He's like, so pedicures, fellas, don't sleep on the pedicures. I'm telling y'all. So Miss Olivia is over in Little Italy. So shout out to Miss Olivia, and you can go and sign up for her afterwards. So the next question, they're talking about this like taking care of yourself. Part of what I teach, and so I also have, so the first 2 weeks of the program the content comes from my program. It's a business accelerator program called Strategy School. And I focus on, to me, what is the most important strategy, which is your positive mindset strategy. As business owners, we can tend to run ourselves into the ground. And so the very first thing we do when we start out in the program is we take a kind of a snapshot of your life and just kind of have you assess how are the other areas of your life doing. You know, like when was the last time you like hung out with your best friend, or you know, like do you love the way your room is decorated? You know, it's like all these little things that just kind of get away from us. They really do have an impact on you as a business owner. Because I preach and preach and preach that if we as business owners aren't sustained, if our well-being isn't sustained, then we can't sustain our business. And then if we also have teams, then we have to make sure that we're modeling that same positive mindset for our teams. And it bleeds over to our customers, because then your customers feel that energy. And so I want you to kind of share your experience of kind of having this like positive mindset stuff kind of sprung on you. It's like you're coming here for a business, like a business learning cohort, and now you're doing positive mindset stuff. So I'm gonna start with Susan.
I was like, I thought we were gonna come in, there was gonna be a whiteboard up there, we were just gonna learn all this stuff. I didn't realize it was gonna be like a business community that we were building. And, like I still see people like we connected on Instagram and YouTube, not Instagram, but like those things. And like I go out and I'm in the community and I see like this person is gonna who was the juice people? Like when I see that they're gonna be somewhere, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna run over and make sure I say hello to them. And if I see somebody else, I'm gonna make sure I see them. But it also, I feel like one of the things I was telling Q this morning was I started going back to the gym because I just had not had time. I was not making time. And I was like, wait a minute, if I can take 3 hours out of my Monday morning, I can take a couple hours out of my Monday morning and go to the gym. I only go there once a week, but it's like, it starts the week off for me having a positive influence for the rest of the week. Because it's like, okay, I started, I got it done. At least now I can say, at least if I do one or two more days a week, just taking care of myself. But I was like, let me use that 3 hours to help myself.
It was amazing. It was really amazing. And I remember that first day, I was like, if I can bottle this up and sell it, I would be a millionaire, like really selling just all of this that I'm getting. And I got addicted to it. And it made me every Monday morning come here expecting it. And then when I left here, I said, I'm going to keep this going like she said. So those 3 hours, that's the time for me to do all of the stuff I did here and then work on my business. That was hours I thought I never had. And I realized during this class that I can keep this going every Monday. And that's what I've been doing. So it just was a mindset shift. I started sharing that stuff with the customers as well and our followers on social media of what I was doing. They were asking me, what are you doing? Where are you going? Where is that place? That looks beautiful. I want to go there. Like just different stuff that I was doing in class and started doing it in my lifestyle. And my kids are doing it now. And they're doing facials and not letting me go to sleep until theirs is done and stuff like that. So it's just been amazing. Sign up.
I kind of appreciate reality. I realized one of the things personally that I learned about Q is that he's a meditator. And to bring that into the knowledge of the business environment was really different because, you know, I'm huge on focusing on health of hands and health of feet, but just my own health, I'm too busy. And one of the positive things that I got from him, from a, even personal, because even talking to him in situations when he had become a client of mine, I got a whole nother view again, because we forget about ourselves in business, we really do. But it starts with us taking care of ourselves first. And just those few little seconds of meditating, or even as he introduced music into the work environment. Most people don't even play music when they're working, but just music that can transform your mind into a positive mindset. When I come in here to the Empower Baltimore class environment, I come in with every piece of baggage that I had to deal with before I arrived. And then I have to put myself in the mindset of learning, which means my mind needs to be clear from all of that negative stuff and turn into a I can do this experience. And when you're already struggling with technology indifferences and things of that nature, I just left, you know, my children, had to deal with dropping people off, doing this, that, and the other, and they just love me and know me for mommy. They don't even see that I'm a business person. They don't even see that. It's like they don't even realize I have a client I gotta get to, you know, things of that nature. And so I've learned to incorporate these little bits and pieces of meditation. Like I used to listen to regular music in the car, you know. Now I put on my Christian network. I need to hear positive stuff, even en route to the salon. Just little, you'd be surprised, little teeny things that you said, even when you would have us stand up and, you know, do a little movement, exercise, things like that. It seems very minuscule, but they really aren't. They're powerful. Those 2 to 5 little minutes of this, that, and the other can give you like literally 5 or 6 hours of better performance in your day. And that's what I picked up from it. So.
I think all three of you just sort of spoke about some level of sacrifice that you had to make to be here. So again, QSQ said the cohorts meet every week for 6 weeks for 3-hour blocks of time. And that time, we emphasize that you're supposed to be working on your business at that time, right? You're not necessarily in it, but you're working on it. So kind of trying to take that bird's eye view a little bit. Can you all speak to what sacrifices you had to make in order to get here every week for that 3 hours? What did that look like? What decisions did you make? All that good stuff.
So every Monday I meet with my neighbors for coffee at 8 o'clock from 8 to 9. And we've been doing it for years. We've actually closed down a bunch of coffee shops because we feel like, not us personally, but it's like, oh man, this coffee shop closed down. And so we go from like coffee shop to coffee shop, and we finally found one. And I told my neighbors, I was like, I'm gonna be away for 6 weeks because I have to be there at 9 o'clock. And for me to get here at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, and I was like determined. I remember the first class, you were like, turn off your cell phones, be present, and be here on time. And they were like, don't show up 20 minutes late, show up on time. And I was like, I'm going to show up on time. and I'm gonna be present. And like, we put our phones away, nobody was looking at their phones. We were present. And and I made sure I was here those 6 weeks. And I'm glad, after the 6 weeks, we were kind of like, we're done? Oh, I don't wanna be done.
Aside from doing my business and making products on Monday, that was one of the days that I homeschooled my son. And that was a sacrifice I had to make because it was instead of doing it in the morning, because he would spend like an hour on live with his teacher, and then I would teach him the rest of the day. And instead of doing it in the morning, we would do it in the evening. So it was a difference for him. He didn't take it well. He felt like I was abandoning him. He felt like I was replacing him with this. It was a whole meltdown. But we got through it, and he understood that it was something that I was doing that was going to make us better. And honestly, I kept saying, I don't have the time to do it, but I had the time. I had to make the time. A lot of times, like when you're on an airplane, they say, if anything happens, put your mask on first, and then you can help somebody else. With this business, I had to put my mask on first. I had to take care of this business, take care of myself, and then I will allow me to take care of everything else. So it's perspective. Some clothes piled up on the side. We didn't wash clothes every week like we were doing before. We had to call somebody to come and clean our house because we couldn't do it. My wife was working full-time and part-time. So it was just an adjustment to what we were usually doing and just making those sacrifices. So we can sit here right now and talk about how great this program is.
I'm going to address that question from a financial standpoint, because that was my biggest sacrifice. Most salons are not open on Mondays, and so I made it a point to make sure that mine was. And the biggest sacrifice was about a $200 morning every Monday. I literally lost $200 to my weekly budget by coming here for 3 hours. And that's significant because I'm just barely breaking even in my business. And so, I started out saying, this is great, this program is excellent, and it's free. I'm saying that in my head, And then I said, it really wasn't free, it cost me a great deal. But I don't say that to scare anybody who would, think potentially about coming and being a part of this program. I just say that to share that for me at least, it was also an economic sacrifice. As far as everything else, I would have been in the salon anyway, so there wasn't many at-home sacrifices that were any different. I would have been away from home and at the salon anyway. So my biggest sacrifice in participating in the program was economic.
We hope you're gonna see some return on that.
I already had.
Yep,
I forgot to mention that.
And because Miss Olivia is our heart, and we're still behind the scenes helping her with some stuff. We're gonna get her set up on Style Seat to help her streamline. She's been doing everything manually, so we're gonna get her streamlined so she can have an app for people to for y'all to sign up, because there's more customers out here in the audience. So speaking of the audience, I want to open it up for questions. Who here has a small business and who would like to maybe increase your online presence? Okay, cool, awesome. So when you're here, you have the two lead trainers. Bakari takes care of all the logistics on the back end, which is really, really important. We have guest speakers that come in, and so this is a team effort. They do have to hear from me a lot, but then after the first 2 weeks, I shut up so we can bring in some guest speakers, and then I present for probably about an hour and a half or so. So please, we'd love to hear some questions from the audience. Don't be shy, y'all. Here we go, over here.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paula. I was actually in 2 different workshops, so I have a question I know was already answered, but I would be very appreciative if you could answer it again. I hear you say Monday morning, so that's from 9 to 12. Is that what it is on Mondays?
Yes, so we actually had 2 cohorts at the same time. One was Monday morning, 9 to 12, and the other was Tuesday evening from 5 to 8, just to help out the people. There were our evening cohort, a lot of them had full-time jobs, and we're doing this on the side, whereas our morning cohort, most of them were full-time in their businesses.
Okay, perfect. The other question, which I'm sure was answered also, is that I know the application deadline is July 1st. When does the next cohort start actually?
So hand the mic over to Bakari.
Yes.
The next cohort to actually start September the 12th. So it's an early deadline so that we can accept applications and review them and all that good stuff. And the application is at empowerbaltimore.com.
And you're gonna do 2 cohorts again, morning and evening?
Likely.
In the fall, yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Karen. I just wanted to ask if your program focused at all on social media. And one of the problems that I've been having is I post every day, but I get a lot of, interactions, but not a lot of likes. And so I'm wondering if you guys address that and how to sort of get your business out there in the feeds.
Sure, so we address that through the first 2 weeks to start, which is your persona research, because understanding your audience and your audience segments informs every single part of your business. So including especially social media. And so that research arms them with the content that will actually spark that engagement that you're missing. And so, yes, well, it may not be like, oh, we're teaching you strategies the first 2 weeks about social media or not, but we're teaching you how to build that foundation so that all the rest of your efforts will be rewarded. And we also do bring in a special guest who does cover some social media. The other part that we forgot to mention was that you also get access to an online learning portal that has courses. You get one course from my program, and then the rest of the courses are all from GoDaddy, and they all go a little bit deeper into different topics, and one of those topics is social media. So the lessons, the modules that we go through after persona research, we go into like choosing the right tools for your business, and then also we get into branding and understanding like how your brand relates, and talking about your website purpose, your CTA. Then we move into actually building the business. We touched on pricing. We had a special guest who talked about pricing right now for inflation, and so we try to really keep things relevant. And then after that, we touched on social media. We brought in an SEO expert who talked about local SEO. And so, and I think there's something else I might be missing, but we kind of go through several different lessons. Thank you so much.
Canva tools.
Oh yeah, and then you also get a tool for Canva, and I'm gonna pass it over to Tyler. Okay, cool. Oh yes, I forgot. We brought in a branding expert to teach you how to just, we're not graphic designers. All of us aren't graphic designers, and so to really teach you what can you do, what tools are available. And the great thing about being a business owner right now, y'all, there's an app for everything. So anything you could think of, there's an app for it to kind of make it easier. And so we brought in someone to teach you branding and doing like creative work. Thank you so much. We have one question back there.
I was gonna say also on top of that, we also have a digital access lab here. So we also have access to a computer and product photography. I don't know if you have a business or service-based business, but we also have those tools so folks can come in and actually take photographs of their merch, whatever those items may be, and then that also like feeds into ultimately some of the social media strategies. What was it?
Right here. Oh, we're gonna go right over here, ma'am. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Wait for the mic. There we go. Just need the mic.
It really sounds like a fantastic program, very comprehensive. But is it certified?
Certified by
any?
Oh no, not
affiliated any institution.
That's a great question. So we are not. You don't get any kind of official certification. We are sponsored by GoDaddy, so all of the participants get free GoDaddy products. But because we're working with entrepreneurs, they don't need any kind of business certification. So they're really just coming to get knowledge that they can apply immediately. Now we are affiliated with one institution who is our research partner, which is Morgan State University, because we really here at Impact Hub, we love small businesses and entrepreneurs. And so part of that work is making sure that we are able to advocate for entrepreneurs. In order to do that, you have to have data. And so the application is slightly lengthy. It only takes you, like, how long would it take you to do the application? I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes or so, but we ask a lot of different data points. And that information is confidentially shared with our research partner at Morgan State University, because they are doing ongoing research for entrepreneurs. It helps us understand what are the challenges people are coming here with, what are the different circumstances that have brought them here, so that we can then take that research. And then the other panel that was happening this morning is make sure that we can share those findings with the larger entrepreneurial ecosystem, so that we can say, hey, we have a lot of entrepreneurs coming who have no access to tech knowledge. And so now that helps to inform our partners who are also doing programs, because we always share the love. And so we're making sure that if we don't have a program, then we can send people who come here to our partners in the ecosystem.
But you are affiliated with the Institute of Higher Learning, is that correct?
Morgan State University is our research partner, yes ma'am.
It has been entered into the literature, community-based, I guess that's an okay word to use, training. But the second part of this question is my passion is to create housing, affordable housing first for disenfranchised and served female veterans, single veterans, veterans who have been, I guess you would say, justice involved, ex-offenders and mothers. If you are familiar with the landscape of female veterans, it is one of the most underserved populations within the military or veterans population. And so I've developed a model to create housing units for female veterans. Don't have a cent, but the issue is I'd like to identify perhaps a developer, a partner for the bricks and mortar part, and then my organization will create the programs within the housing development for our shivers. And I was wondering, would that be a service that, program that this organization would assist me in building?
Sure, yes ma'am. So we're not able to assist you with building out your program per se. However, we had plenty of nonprofits who applied and were in the program. Now, this program, I do want to clarify, this program is for businesses and organizations that have been in existence for at least 2 years. So if you haven't started yet, that's perfectly okay, because you're in the right place. Again, we're a part of an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So there are actually people in our network that I would love to introduce you to, and I'll actually introduce you to our executive director, because she knows exactly who she's already thinking about, I'm sure. Of like who she can put you in touch with. And then after you've been in existence for 2 years, hopefully we'll still be doing this program. You can come on over and we can help you get up a website to help those female veterans to find you and your new program. So thank you so much for your question. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
pushing this rock
up the hill. Yes, yes. Well, you're in the right place, because we have people that can help you get resources to keep pushing it on over the hill. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just a quick question. I already have my domain through GoDaddy, so if I were to apply for the program, would that create a problem? Is it for people who are getting a brand new domain, or does it matter that I already have one?
That is a fantastic question. I'm actually let Bakari answer that.
That's not a problem at all. So what will happen is essentially just that you'll get comped your domain for 2 years. And for those that complete the program, you also would then get that same domain for 50% off for 6 years after. So with the exception, as long as it is a .com or .org. And then the other sort of fun fact that I think comes up a lot is that what if you already have something, a domain and or a website that's built on a platform other than GoDaddy, Wix or Weebly or Square. There's no button that you can click, unfortunately, to magically migrate all of your content over, but you do have the option of transferring ownership over to GoDaddy if you would like. So that's a common
Yeah,
question.
and two other questions up here, and you don't have to. So we have plenty of people who came in who had Shopify sites or who had other sites, and they just used the knowledge that they had. Some people built an extra website in addition to their Shopify site. Did you want to speak to that?
So when I first started, we had Shopify and we converted everything to GoDaddy, but the point of it was to create a whole new website because the old one wasn't working. So it just made sense for us to create it on a whole new platform, and the support that we got from GoDaddy was competitive.
So that leads me to two questions. Good morning, everyone. I'll do the second question first. With the GoDaddy site, does it also include e-commerce?
It does.
Okay. Now, my first question is, if you were approved in the self-guided Empower Baltimore, can you still enroll in the in-person class? Because my schedule wouldn't allow me to do the in-person, but I did not do the self-guided because obviously my schedule didn't allow me to do that either. So I'd like to apply. I wanted to know if I'm able to reapply.
Absolutely. It was two easy questions. You don't have a third one?
No.
You want to challenge us? Okay.
Not yet.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just a quick question for the panelists. What advice would you give to someone who is either technology shy or just starting out their business in this mid-pandemic environment?
My advice, I'm gonna say off the top, join. Get in and hope your application gets accepted. Because that's one of the major things, at least for me, that it changed. That was the key thing in my life that was keeping my business from growing. Just being shy, unfamiliar, unknowledgeable about the whole technical aspect to running a business, having a website, being friendly and understanding how things work together, from social media to various applications and tools that your business needs. But if we don't learn to understand them from that computer, it's unfortunate to say, but you're just not gonna grow. You're gonna be in your own zone and until you antedated and don't even exist to the real business spectrum that's going on out here. And that's where I was. So my best advice to you is if that's where you are, get into this program.
So I was with GoDaddy since the beginning, and I'm not really sure why I picked GoDaddy opposed to like one of the other sites. I think that it just, when I looked at it, I felt like it was just the easier one. And their just basic platform, it's like, yeah, it takes me a long time to get to do the website, but it's very user-friendly. It's like you can figure it. I mean, you can really figure out with their basic platform. You don't have to have like, what's the other word? WordPress. WordPress is for somebody who isn't technically, doesn't have all the technology behind them. But their basic platform, it's basically, like a la carte. Like I want this, I want this, I want this, and you just click and point and put stuff in. And it's you can kind of go in first and figure it out, and it's not that hard. And I've slowly over the years gotten better. Like I've constantly gotten better as I've used it. I'm still not great, but at least I have a website that Q's helped me make it better. This program has made it better, but it's better. It's just go ahead and start and try it. It's not, like I said, I'm not a millennial, I'm not a Gen X, but if I can do it, anybody can do it.
So Susan is being a little modest. So she just happened to be on the actual product that you all will get for free if you join the program. And she had used all the features. And I was telling Bakar, like, this person who applied. And yes, she had like you could tell there was someone who didn't quite know what they were doing, but they knew enough to go in and use all the features that were available. And so what we were able to do with Susan was just fine tune. So it's like, let's look at your color palette. Let's like kind of look at how some of these things are designed. And so, yes.
I changed my color palette. This is all because of
and so it's we just fine tuned. So I just want to make sure you give yourself some credit. Like she came in having done a lot, and you can also come in without anything at all. So even if you have a website, we also had someone who has a website on Shopify, but just wanted her own website where she could better tell her story. And so she was able to do that as well. And if you have Etsy or products on Facebook or Walmart, you can import those products into the back end of your GoDaddy website. So, did you have something to add?
I also wanted to share the last in the last 2 sessions of the program, we also do website audits. So for folks that have a website or have built a website over the course of that month and a half, we put it up on the big screen, and most people are very intimidated by it, but we're very friendly and I think supportive in the approach. But we basically just give feedback. We try to put ourselves in the mind space of your target customer or client, and then we literally go over it as a group. And they've been super helpful for not just the person whose site we're reviewing at the time, but ultimately the entire class. So much so that folks have signed up to observe the audits of other people after they've already had theirs audited, just to continue to get that feedback on color schemes and font choice and images and all that good stuff. I think you have time for one more question though.
Hi, does your business have to meet a certain income quota to qualify to get into this program? Does that make sense?
Yes, and it does not. You just need to be in business for 2 years. And the reason for that, y'all, is because there are so many resources out there for startups. And when you're a startup, it's a whole nother ball game from when you're an existing business. And startups are sexy and everybody wants to, support the next new startup. But we have so many existing businesses in our communities right now that need support, that are also better equipped to provide more jobs that they can scale. So we have made a conscious decision to focus more on existing businesses. Again, plenty of resources for startups right here in Baltimore, and we're happy to point you to those. And so, one more thing.
Can I say one thing about that? As a not startup, passive startup page, that was one of the things, like every time I would see like these accelerators and stuff, it was the same information and it wasn't helping me grow. This was the program. I was like, this is what I need. This is how I need to make my website better. And I couldn't find it anywhere else and nobody could answer those questions. But when I came in here, I was like, so if you're already existing and you tried all these accelerators and you tried all this other stuff and they're giving you the same information, this is not that program. This is completely different information. So sign up.
Thank you. We did not pay them to say any of these things. But also they're saying all the right things. So with that, I want to thank all of you. Well, first, give it up for our 3 businesses. So, because I'm always about plugging our local businesses, I want them to say their domains. We're still helping Miss Olivia with her website. So Miss Olivia is going to share her address, and then you can come and sign up for your manicure and your pedicure with her. And I want at least 3 people here to come sign up with Miss Olivia today. Yes, she's amazing. And then I want them to share their URL so that you can go online and shop.
My URL is harp-vision.com. harp-vision.com.
And mine is runmitts.com. runmitts.com.
And I am Olivia from Olivia and Company, located at 916 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, right down in Little Italy. And I have cards.
So what do we have coming up for you next? We have actually one of our Empower Baltimore special guest presenters who is coming next. And so it is a pair of awesome sisters. I like to joke that I'll tell that joke later when we start. They know what joke I'm gonna tell. So I'm like, you have to stay for that panel to hear that joke. And then after that, we have a special guest actually from GoDaddy to do a presentation on video marketing. And these are just little snippets of some of the content from the Empower Baltimore program. Again, if you're interested in signing up, and even if you're not, maybe there's a local business in your neighborhood or somewhere that doesn't have a website. Maybe it's your favorite place to order food from, and you can't order food from there because they don't have a website. grab some flyers. We're all about community, and maybe you have someone in your community you know who should sign up. And so if you want to learn more, it's empowerbaltimore.com. Empowerbaltimore.com. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us, and we'll see you for the next event. Thank you so much.